Hi, thanks for tuning in to our Practical Nerds weekly podcast. I'm Shub, and together with my partner and co host Patrick, we normally invest in founders in design, construction, renovation, and logistics technology. Many of our friends in the ecosystem wanted us to start a podcast on the built world, and in return, we decided to honor their request with a show about nothing at all.
Hey Patrick, we're back again after a break. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. And I very, very much look forward to this episode because it
I
makes for I think, very interesting listen.
Yeah, so I think we're going a little bit off script, which is saying something given that we have no script nor any preparation. But I guess it's truly some storytelling time this episode. So what's on the
Indeed.
docket for this one, Patrick?
So this one is about all the bizarre, unethical, and in one case, even illegal things we have seen in Constru-Tech and AEC tech companies over the years that have led
Mhm.
us to pass
Yeah.
on the companies. And we could write a fiction novel about this, which unfortunately is the truth, not fiction.
Indeed. I mean, I have to say, I really wish we had the liberty to share specific details about each of these examples. I'm pretty sure that would make it our most watched and viewed episode, listened to episode of all time. And it'll probably stay that way for a while. It'll make it so colorful and so fun. I
Yeah.
wish we could do that. But I think for various reasons, we'll have to keep the details confidential.
Maybe we hit the 3 listeners this time, even without naming the specifics.
Yeah.
So,
Let's
making it
go.
the most listened.
Let's aim for those three.
Okay, so I think, as always, we're unprepared, Shu, but you and I, we took 2 minutes in our little chat here when we dialed into our software, and
Mhm.
we figured out that there's actually like 3 cases of bizarre things that we have seen over the years investing in Constru-Tech,
Yeah.
and we passed on these things. First one is accounting misrepresentations, misrepresenting also perhaps product technology, but mostly accounting. Second one is straight up unethical and self-enriching behavior, both from
Mhm.
founders and from VCs. We have
Yes.
anecdotes on both. And then illegal stuff, the third
Uh-huh.
category. So, Shub, do you want me to kick off with accounting misreps, or do you want to start with a story?
Why not? I think we have really one awesome category after the other here. So I guess the honor is yours, if honor is the right noun to be used there.
Right. Okay, so this is a company that does an asset-heavy model in the wider and general construction tech market, and the company had a financing round in place, had a term sheet signed, and was about to close the round when 48 hours before that the lead jumped ship. And the lead jumped ship because their lawyers and their accountants had done the audit of the company's financials, and they found that the revenue recognition of that company was off by a very, very wide margin. It was called
Hmm.
creative accounting in a phone call to
Ah,
me,
nice.
in terms of the revenue recognition. So what the
Hmm.
company thought they had in terms of a 35 million round then
Hmm.
got canceled and got reduced to a very small fraction of that done by the insiders because externals had then obviously tough time backing this company.
Uh, Firstly, a lot to unpack there. I'm sure the insiders would have celebrated it as a big victory for the firm when the eventual round got done.
I'm sure. I'm
Yeah.
sure. But of this category, so again, we don't want to get into specifics, but let's perhaps talk about the pattern here, Shoop.
Uh-huh.
Accounting, misrepresentation. What's your
Mhm.
best story there?
I mean, there's two very interesting ones, I have to say. One where I was more directly involved, a company I was actively evaluating. The other is a more roundabout, but actually fascinating story. Fascinating in just how high profile it is. Maybe I'll start with the more high profile one. Um,
Hmm.
so this is a founder who comes with a highly pedigreed background. It has to be said clearly on paper. In fact, on paper, an extremely pedigreed background. Imagine someone,
Hmm.
great schools, great brand name, employers, and running a company which scaled to tremendous size and amount of funding.
Hmm.
Now this person goes on to start a new company, and as you would imagine, and it's our job obviously, for you and me, when we find people that seem to be exceptional in what they do, we chase them down. That's part of our profession, and see what we could
Right.
perhaps build together with them. uh, Now, for better or worse, I did not have the, or okay, I thought I did not have the privilege of working with this person in their previous venture, and I thought I'd missed out, and therefore now I have to work so much harder to make a case for fundamental this time around. Uh,
I already
I
like
got
where this
around
is
to
going.
I got around to talking to a few people who knew this person from their previous initiative, and they said, "Yeah, I mean that person." So one person defined it as, "Yeah, there was a lot of funny business going on in that company, right? Under this person's leadership." I tried to
Hmm.
get into more details of what funny business means. Um, so the person just said, "Yeah, they make liberties. They take liberties with the numbers, right?" And I think the person did not want to engage any further in what that means. Uh, by the way, this already should tell you a whole lot, right? If you, as
Yeah.
our listener or viewer, are aware, both founders and VCs, when asked about specific individuals, we actually get very emotive, very expressive. So when you use these evasive comments, it should tell you a whole lot.
Right.
I asked a second person who also
Yeah.
knew this founder from their previous venture. That person says, "Hey, this person was just." I think they use different words, but I think something along the lines of, "Hey, the books were cooked." So I think that person didn't have as much difficulty putting it out straight. And they actually said, "Hey, that is the reason why things unraveled in a very poor way at their previous venture." So things were definitely not as nice as they seem on the outside, and things unraveled in an extremely shocking fashion over there. And that made me really think, wow, right? Had I not asked these other people in the know, the reality and the perception, it's two different worlds. And now when I
Wow.
look at that founder, not too long ago, I was thinking, hey, I need to really put myself out there to chase this founder down to make sure fundamental is number one on their mind. Now I'm like, hey, I have to make sure we never get um, we get into this person's orbit again, right? It's
Right.
kind of like a 180, but makes you show. I guess another reminder of just how important it is, no matter how tempting it is, not to get engaged in these kinds of, I guess, what we're calling accounting misrepresentations or creative accounting.
Right. Yeah. You
Yeah.
can. I mean, look. You can overpromise,
Hmm.
and there's big examples out there. Media stories, etc.,
Hmm.
where founders have made extremely big promises. I mean, Sam Altman last week said, "Hey, you need to have the quality to bend the reality to your will." So if
Yes.
that's what you mean by um, we're promising big things, but then perhaps we didn't quite reach it. Okay,
Hmm.
that's still perhaps if you already knew you were not going to reach it, but people bought it, they could have done diligence.
Hmm.
It's borderline, but that's not what we're talking about here. So if you
Yeah.
now go and you present actual numbers of your
Hmm.
business, and those are inaccurate in terms of revenue recognition, in terms of what you're talking about,
Yeah.
that's a different level.
I mean, look, just stating the obvious. At the end of the day, venture is about investing in what we see and what we believe. Uh, once that veil is lifted, and you don't know if what is in front of you can be trusted, then we lose the ability to price anything or underwrite anything. To use a more technical term, there is no basis for underwriting, and that just completely dissipates. But you know what? Staying on what you said about
Absolutely.
projections, I think that's an appropriate tie into our next brilliant example of accounting misrepresentation. So this is a deal.
Also brilliant here.
So this is a deal I was diligencing, I think, a year or two ago. Um, Phenomenal numbers, I have to say, which I think is a common pattern in some of these stories. Phenomenal numbers,
Hmm.
right? I actually haven't seen numbers like that in that category yet till now. I must stress what I've seen, the numbers, as in what was presented to me. So, the firm
What
then.
category roughly? Was it software? Was it
Good,
hardware?
good
Was it
question. Thank you.
marketplace?
So, think of it like it's broadly in the electrification of machines and equipment space. Um, I think if I go more specific, it may enable discovery,
Okay, so
but
hardware.
broadly in the electrifications of machines and equipment, that sort of space. So not software,
Okay.
yeah, very core manufacturing tech oriented stuff. Uh,
Mhm.
so basically, the numbers were about what was being produced as revenue, number of units that were being shipped, etc., or sold rather. So, as part of the diligence, an auditor was hired to actually verify what was being said. Uh, and in fact, the lead investor for that company went very deep for a substantial growth round, I must say. And the investor was also a reputed one in that market. A few months in, they found out that, hey, there's a massive discrepancy in the actual cash flows that show up in the bank accounts and statements and legit invoices and what was claimed in the what is called as pro forma financials by the company. And when this was confronted, I think in the beginning the founders, they resisted the finding. In the end, I think one of the founders just caved and said, hey, there was a lot of pressure for me to show numbers and make projections, and therefore I felt compelled to match up to the projections for this round.
Wow.
So that's something, man. That's something.
It tells you something about the dynamic in that team. I should have mentioned on the story we kicked off with, the revenue
Mhm.
recognition problem. Two of the original three founders are not in the company anymore. So
That is
there's an
true.
interesting founder dynamic going on with these
Yes.
examples.
Yes. Exactly. And in fact, when we even inquired with the other two founders, they discovered this aspect because of the audit, which also is quite remarkable,
Wow.
right? Um,
Okay.
by the way, I guess a tie in to an earlier episode of ours where we talked about why audits are important and why founders should not shirk their responsibilities
Mhm.
when it comes to an audit. You may even, I mean, I don't wish that upon any founder. An audit may also be a way for you to discover hidden skeletons about your co founder. That's also a reason to engage proactively in an audit, right? So that was quite something, right? So one is two co-founders discovering stuff about their co-founder through an audit, and the founder claiming that he felt pressure in order to and that is what compelled him to inflate numbers. Quite something.
I mean, do
Remarkable.
do the VCs have a like co culpability here? Are we putting like I mean maybe this year less or last year less than in the years before that, but are we putting just too much pressure? Is that are we to blame here?
Look, that's a great question. In this specific instance, I did actually speak with someone who was an existing investor in that company. That individual also claimed to not know that this was going on. Uh,
Mhm.
I think there could be two sides to this story. So one could argue that beyond a certain size or scale, it is also in some ways a VC investor's responsibility to use some sort of mechanism to verify the numbers. I'm also sympathetic, mind you, if it was a relatively small check, maybe written at pre-seed or seed stage, there are limits to the extent to which, for instance, we would engage a big four auditor or something of that sort to diligence a firm. At that, it probably doesn't make sense in terms of the amount of data or the costs involved, etc. But I think at some scale, uh, in my opinion, it becomes inevitable. So I think in that particular case, I think there are two sides. Hard for me to say to what extent the investor should also be considered guilty by association in this example.
So, I mean, we're going to move on with more stories here, but just it's a nice intermediate summary almost or conclusion.
Yeah.
I reject the notion of founder pressure leading
Hmm.
to misrepresentations or unethical or self-enriching behavior. And the reason is pressure is what you make to yourself, except
Yes.
for when it's about the certainty of your life or the
Hmm.
certainty of life of your loved ones. That can be external pressure, but
Yeah.
everything else is what you make in your own head. And
Hmm.
so if you claim that, oh, this shareholder with 10%, I own 50% in my own company, my co-founder owns 20%, and this shareholder owns 10 or 15%, they put so much pressure on me to grow, I can
Yeah.
just say sorry. That's another gross misrepresentation, or
Yeah.
something is wrong in your mind. And that extends even throughout the funding rounds. If you have whatever, you're now a $10 billion business, you're a year away from IPO, you have several of the largest investors on your cap table, and you claim, yeah, but they are putting so much pressure on me. Tell me how. Because what do they have against you? Nothing,
Exactly.
except just taking your time in discussions.
Yeah.
So I reject that notion
Yeah. I
completely.
would
And I
say.
also reject it, by the way, when VC claims that.
Yeah. I would say it's just another perverse form of greed. Unfortunately, just being called with different
Yeah,
words. Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. Now, if you put a
Yeah.
gun to my head, okay, that's pressure. That's
Yeah.
certainty of loss of, or
Yeah.
insecurity of my life. So that's different. But that's not
Yeah.
what leads to this.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, to be
How
honest
about
with you,
some?
oh,
Oh,
go
go
for
ahead,
it.
Shub. Sorry.
I was about to say, on the accounting misrepresentation side, something tells me if every VC deal went through an audit, there'll be more accounting misrepresentations discovered. That's
Yes,
that's my
for sure,
feeling. Yeah.
for sure, for sure. And I mean, that's another thing, right? So I'm really glad that this trend of the last 1.5, 2 years is happening. And you've talked about this in another Practical Nerds episode. Is that it's much more common if you're a Series A or B company to have an audit completed.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for that because as a fund manager, we go through an audit every
Hmm.
year in every fund vehicle. I currently have
That's
3
right.
audits ongoing. Okay.
That's right.
So that's not because it's so much fun. Okay. I have other hobbies,
Yeah.
but it's just good practice. It's good business. And by the way, we're growing. We're moving fast. We're being decisive. We're hiring. We're changing things all the
Hmm.
time. So
That's right.
when a founder gives me an excuse, yeah, but I was moving fast and breaking things. No, that's not good.
Yeah. Absolutely.
No. But okay, so we're still in the first category of stories, which
Hmm.
is the accounting misrepresentations. But I think we're slowly moving into the second one, the unethical behavior and
Yes.
self-enriching. So
I think this is where the real
I'll let you
story
go
is.
ahead with one other story.
Okay. I actually think I'll one up you there and maybe go with two stories. I'll go with two
Okay,
stories.
keep going.
So, so there's this fascinating story. Again, not from our portfolio. I must preface that, of a very prominent company, like very prominent, in the AC space. Very prominent company. Several of the world's top investors in it. Extremely well funded. So on and so forth. Out of the blue, it has this incident involving some authorities. Let's just say of the from the law and tax side. And what is particularly unique
Oh,
about this incident, somehow they zero in on one particular board member, mind you, not founder, but board member, as an investor representative of that company. And that individual was then uh, accused of perhaps being involved in bribing or coercing some officials with the hope of creating business for this AEC company. Uh, I must
what?
preface, I'm not aware to what extent those allegations or charges have been proven or not, but certainly those claims were made. um, and I found that incredible. That so the reason I find it incredible is because, as far as I don't know if the allegations have been proven or not, but the fact that things could devolve to such a degree that you could even get to a stage where someone thought, hey, we can proceed with an allegation in a VC funded business. To me, that's also crazy, right? Usually my
And
reaction to
so,
these.
Shub, in this case, was it like there was an allegation and a day later it was laughed off the yard, or was it like ongoing for months?
So look, as far as my sources are concerned, they don't know how things have unfolded since, uh, right? So I don't know. So it was certainly not laughed off. Um, as far as I know, it has not resulted in something dire for the individual who was allegedly doing these things. But I don't know in what manner it was resolved, if that makes sense. It seems to have, or maybe it still is running its course. I don't know.
Okay, wow.
I mean, usually my reaction to these things, right, is even if the complete charge is not true, my initial hunch in these situations is to go believe that there can't be smoke without fire, to use an idiom. So, if not that specific allegation, there might be something else underlying, which is perhaps not being done right. Right? I wish I knew more, but I found that to be another incredible example.
I mean, it's at the very least, it's a PR disaster.
Hmm.
But my experiences with yours, I think there are cases of wrong allegations,
Hmm.
but the vast majority of allegations have a like a grain of truth that they come.
Yeah.
There's embellishment of allegations. That
Mhm.
happens all the time,
Yeah.
but most of them start with a grain of truth. So,
Hmm.
in it's as a board member in a company, your job is not to operate the business.
Yeah.
Your job is to supervise, is to be a sparring partner, to control that certain functions of the business and not operations
Hmm.
are being done according to governance.
Hmm.
If you get involved with getting business for that business, beyond making an introduction,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're already moving in the wrong
Yeah.
direction. And then something like this, okay, I mean, if that's true or not, whatever, but the fact that you even get yourself into the situation of being exposed to that allegation, that's already bad board member
Yeah.
behavior.
Yeah. Exactly. For me, at least, that was a first
Wow.
that of in a VC funded venture, a board member like that getting alleged in a company that I was familiar with.
And one more
Or
thing,
for
Shu, keep this in mind. We're talking about this in the context of construction tech. So construction as an industry,
Hmm.
I mean, you can peel this onion as much as you
Yeah.
want. I prefer not to. But if you peel it
Yeah.
very deep, or if you're in this industry for a long time, you will find cases across the wider internet or your personal experience spectrum where construction companies or construction families have bribed to get
Yeah.
projects, etc. So this has been a part of the history of construction. So now
Yeah.
you're on the board of a construction tech company, and you're getting yourself into the same room with potential customers. Again, beyond an intro,
Yeah.
I think that's just incredibly stupid.
I mean, the reason why I also said there might be smoke where there's fire, uh, or sorry, there might be some fire when there's smoke. Sorry, I got that one wrong. Is unfortunately construction as it is today, and probably how it will persist, unfortunately, for some time. What you described is true.
Yeah.
Bribes and these sort of unethical behaviors do unlock access to large projects in construction, which is why when such allegations are made, I at least would imagine it needs to be taken seriously and looked at as to what might have led to these allegations.
Unreal. I got three more examples, but you said you had another one before I go.
I mean, I have one which is really like the wild card of wild cards. I mean, I think you can put it in all sorts of categories. I have to say. Um, So this one actually has a bit of the accounting misrepresentation piece in the sense, again, I think to give you like a high level introduction of what the firm is. So let's say it's a combination of home building and manufacturing. Imagine a fusion of those models. So that's what the company is into. Um, so again, on the accounting misrepresentation side, what was found again through a big four audit was what was being reported as revenues, there was a discrepancy. What was being reported as the operating margin, there was a discrepancy. What was being reported as the project completion time and the cash collection cycle, there was a discrepancy. So that's on one side, right? Accounting misrepresentations. Then various legal cases were found on the individual, uh, of various
Well,
kinds, I should say, right?
against the
And
founder.
then, sorry, exactly
Against the founder.
against the founder. That's right, against the founder, or to be more inclusive of all the situations involving the founder. Also, because there's some specific circumstances which are again quite bizarre to explain. Now, if you peel all of these things as well, there are also very incriminating circumstances in the company itself in terms of the dynamic between the founder and certain employees, etc. And I really wish I could have shared more, but at that point you have to ask yourself, hey, and where are the lines here? Because even the interpersonal relationships also don't seem to have crossed a certain line of decorum. Then on the accounting side as well, you are not sure if the numbers being reported are legit. Then you have stuff going on the legal side. um, I guess it can only be described as a hot mess.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's also tough then to defend, right? I mean, look, first of all, legal principle, everybody is innocent until proven otherwise.
Yep.
But secondly, if you have like 10 different instances ongoing where people accuse you of something, well, at the very least, something is wrong with your process. At the very
Yes.
least, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
in this case, so I know we looked at this as part of a diligence. I know others looked at this as part of the diligence. Did the
Yes.
financing ever happen?
No.
Okay.
The financing was, did not materialize for these reasons, or as a result of these findings.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, look, strap into your seat. I think I got three really nice ones.
Yeah.
Again, we've moved into this category of unethical behavior and just straight up self-enriching.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with the most harmless one, which is already quite juicy. So, US-based company with several years of history. I don't want to say the exact number, but several years of history. That startup, again, Construu-Tech.
Yeah.
Top tier investors raised a lot of money over the years. I'll just give you a ballpark. Think of it like between 20 to 80 million money raised. Strong reputation in the, I would say, Constru-Tech community in the US.
Okay.
And now, what the founder has done is tell the board, hey, I think it's a great idea to have cheaper software engineers and more available software engineers in Eastern Europe. I'll manage the time zone. Okay, I guess board said, hey, sounds like a good business plan. And by the way, did I get it right that you as a founder have family in Eastern Europe? Yeah, exactly. So it will be very easy for me to manage.
Yeah.
Hey, great. So you probably understand the culture. Well, fast forward a couple of years later, the board and the investors as part of an investment round find out that this founder didn't found the subsidiary which employs the company's software developers under the company, but he
Uh-huh.
just founded another company, which he owns himself, and
Wow.
employs the software developers and makes a
Mhm.
payment from the mothership company for which he raised company to his own personally owned company in
Wow.
Eastern Europe. So basically, he's now getting revenue from the company he raised money straight up into his personal owned company.
That is insane,
And no
man.
one
That
spoke
is
up.
insane.
No one spoke up. They just accepted it when they found it out.
Isn't this, wouldn't this be classified as some sort of economic crime?
I guess. I guess. I mean, it's not illegal in the sense you're breaking laws.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he was breaking governance or contract. So
You know,
in
the
like
reason, the reason,
civil law.
the reason I asked about the economic offense. So there's a very, very high profile company in India. Again, not from our portfolio. I mean, not a construction tech company at this point. Completely different business. Where the founder is again accused of something very similar to what you described, and therefore there's like a criminal offense action being put on the founder there. Um,
Hmm.
but coming back to this example, man, this is like crazy stuff. So you're telling me if things would have gone very rosy, that other Eastern European entity could have maybe rolling in all the revenues. If that would have scaled up, the only beneficiary would have been this founder who's owning this company at the expense of the VC funded venture, which is
Bang
I
on.
guess getting poorer as this other venture is scaling.
Bang on. You nailed it. And
Wow.
the founder would have made himself whole. So complete misalignment. And of course, this was hidden. I mean, this was not like, hey, by the way, I'm founding this subsidiary under my name. Ha 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 ha. That's not how it seemed to me. No. So,
Wow.
but I was look. I mean, I was promising you this was the most harmless. So
Uh-huh.
let's move to VCs,
Okay.
okay? And VC shit we've seen over
Yeah.
the years. This podcast would be 10 hours long
Yeah.
if we told all the stories of like straight up VC nepotistic, unethical, or self-enriching behavior.
Mhm.
I've brought two examples from Constru-Tech here. So first one, imagine this. We're diligencing two firms, Constru-Tech software companies,
Mhm.
at the same time.
Yes.
Both firms have the same board member,
Mhm.
okay? On the one firm, we're passing. We're saying, hey, this is good company, but for this, and this reason, we can't move forward with an investment.
Yeah.
2 weeks later, in the other company, we want to go over the finish line. So
Yeah.
we're telling the company, not even the board member. The board member is not who we're talking to. We're talking to
Yeah.
the founders.
Yeah.
Telling the founders, hey, we'd actually like to invest.
Uh-huh.
We'll say, hey, great, I want to have you as a partner. We don't hear from them for a couple of days. And so then this board member writes us an email
Mhm.
on behalf of the company.
Okay.
Fucking board member, okay?
Yeah.
It's a supervisory function.
Yeah.
Writes us an email. I have the email documented.
Uh-huh.
I'm not making this shit up.
Yeah.
Writes us an email saying, hey, the company would like your money, but I'm not going to approve it unless you also invest in that other company.
Mhm. Yeah. Crazy, man. I mean,
So draw your own conclusion, but that's like, again, self-enriching at the cost of the companies of which you're a minority shareholder and a board member. I'm
yeah.
pretty sure if I were to publish this investor would never ever do a deal again.
I mean, we know quite a bit about this particular board member involved in this episode. I mean, I think all the stuff we
Yeah,
know about this individual, I think we could fill several episodes of Practical Nerds about this individual. All the
that's
stuff going on.
exactly.
I can tell you even another firm that I've interacted with involved with this same board member that you're speaking about, or this VC investor. That founder really regrets having that investor on the cap table because that
Yeah.
individual has blocked one round after the other, or vetoed, as we technically call it. And every time the founder is left, metaphorically speaking, crying as to why is he stuck with an investor where neither can you raise more money because the rounds keep getting blocked, nor can you get rid of the investor who's doing this. So you're just stuck. All for, frankly, personal greed and ego.
Exactly.
Yeah.
At the expense of the founders, at the expense of the company, at the expense of all other shareholders.
Yeah.
So we didn't move forward with either of the two companies because, first of all, we didn't want to, be in the same boat with that person, but also because the person told us they would gonna block. So even if we still had wanted to, against all better judgment, we still wouldn't have been able to, because that was exactly what he was doing, is holding hostage.
I mean, something for
I
founders
got a
to
really nice one.
actually, before you go there,
Sorry, Shub, go ahead.
yeah, maybe something for founders to remember. So if you feel like an investor is being unreasonably caustic or angry or coming up with irrational reasons on why a deal is being blocked or should be blocked, maybe rethink if you should be listening to that investor. And maybe try to diligence these aspects about an investor before accepting their money.
Yeah, it's the best advice for every founder, again, protecting against this kind of unethical VC behavior, is do VC references before you accept money. If it takes more time, it takes more time. No VC will run away because you ask for references. Never happen, never will happen. You have the time to reference your VCs before you accept their money. I can only say you can protect against 99.9% of these cases just by talking to other founders who have worked with that individual.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Save the best for last year, Shub. My personal favorite
Go for it.
of investing in Constru-Tech.
Uh-huh.
So this one has it all. This is like soap opera
Uh-huh.
meets nepotism
Uh-huh.
meets, I don't know if these people, I don't know what they're on. So get this.
Uh-huh.
The Constru-Tech marketplace.
Okay.
Again, like all the other examples, were not investors. And this company, so I'll start you with the founder, okay? So we diligenced this company in the prior round to the round that I'm telling you about now. And we passed on the founder. We liked the business dynamics, not as much, but there was enough there for us to do a process.
Okay.
And I would have passed on the business dynamics, unit economics, margin potential, market size. But what really then made me hit the brakes hard was when I figured out how the founder thinks about building a business. That founder was previously in a large tech company overseeing in operations, not revenue creation, not product development, not engineering, but was overseeing, think of it like a cost center or a cost item to help the company grow by dispersing subsidies. Okay? So now this founder tells me in the previous round, hey, by the way, I want to go negative gross margin because it worked so fine at my previous company. Yeah, sure. From 2010 to 2018, when you had billions of money raised, it's very easy to then buy revenue. I told him, hey, you're in 0 to 1. You're in a small market. You're in a margin-sensitive market. You're probably in a spot marketplace. You're telling me you want to subsidize your growth with negative gross margins? Yeah, it works. And all the other VCs I'm talking to have no problem with it. Okay, I said, that's not what we're investing in. Good luck to you. Nice guy. See you next time. Perhaps you've changed your attitude. Now, we passed on that basis at the previous round. Now, fast forward to the next round. And another VC, generalist VC, that is known for doing less diligence and falling in love with founders and with markets and then making an investment. And several of that has led to a good track record on some companies that they have, but it has also created big misses. So they
Okay.
move forward with this investment where we pass.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they certainly had a thesis. So now the shit happens at the next round. So what
Mm-hmm.
happens is, now fast forward 9 months, the company has completely subsidized their GMV growth, their
Okay.
gross revenue growth, with the
Mm-hmm.
negative gross margins, or at zero gross margins.
Yeah.
So they bought revenue. Now, this founder and this investor brings the company to market for a new fundraise.
Okay.
Okay. Everybody in my network that I trust for being good investors, for being diligent, passed on the company.
Okay.
Hard. Similar reasons like us, plus additional reasons now 9 months later. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Two people do the deal.
Okay.
Two of them quite reputed generalist investors.
Mm-hmm.
The first deal, and by the way, none of the two went through an investment committee.
Interesting. Okay.
So how does this work? The brother in the previous lead, who led the previous round, was a principal at his VC firm.
Okay.
And to get from principal to partner, the easiest way is to have one of your investments being led by a reputed new investor, and then they make you partner. So this guy was at principal.
Mm-hmm.
His brother,
Okay.
his brother is a partner in this other fund
Okay.
who can write certain amounts of tickets, 7
Uh-huh.
digits, without an investment committee.
I see.
So his brother now goes, oh, you know what? Why don't I put this much money into the round? It's roughly half of the round. Well, I can't write a term sheet for it because I didn't go through IC, but I can't commit this money. Okay. So this junior brother who wants to become partner says, hey, you know what? Why don't I call this other buddy of mine in that other fund,
Uh-huh.
who was just promoted partner from backing a similar business,
Okay.
which, by the way, side note, is going terrible. Just terrible business.
Okay.
Not going well, but he got the partner because someone else invested after him. Why don't I call him? I know he likes this kind of model. He likes my brother, and he doesn't have to do an IC as well.
Uh-huh.
So why don't I call him if he can scrape together the other half of what we need? So now the three of them, I call it collusion. That's collusion.
Oh, it is,
That's
definitely.
against the interests of your limited partners and against the governance, how it should actually work and why you should be doing investments. They collude to do this investment, and this other guy writes the term sheet while the brother chips in the other half, and the other guy wrote the term sheet only because they told him, yeah, this other great fund and this other partner wants to do it. So now you have a round in a company that is legit not good business.
Yeah.
Because this one guy who led the previous round wanted to become partner. You know the outcome? He got promoted to partner.
I mean, I would say plan executed to perfection. Wow. Man, that really had everything. That really had everything. How's the business doing
It's
still?
unreal. I haven't checked in with them, but from what I'm hearing, secondhand, not well.
And if I'm not mistaken, from something you had mentioned to me, Patrick, I think a year or two ago, this constellation of investors, they've done something similar before, right?
Yeah, that is this other company that I was referencing. Let me not go there. That's an episode in and of itself.
Okay. Wow.
But the governance is screwed. There's something really rotten in the state of Denmark there.
I mean,
If I was the LPs,
Mhm.
yeah, I would ask questions.
I mean, I really wonder. I mean, this raises so many questions, right? At each of the two VC funds involved, aren't the colleagues, aren't people who should be responsible asking, hey, hang on a second, is something off here with two brothers being on either side of the transaction? Where clearly one side is benefiting directly, right?
That in and of itself, that's already enough not to do it.
I mean, this is what technically, and I guess it's not mentioned, or I don't know. Let me not speak on their behalf. This is what in standard VC documents, and what by that I mean the documents, Patrick, that you, me, and Adam, for example, have signed on to as part of our fund, and other GPs do as well. This is what is called as conflict of interest, right? You do not
Yeah,
enter into conflict of interest situations. That is against the principles of the fund.
yeah,
It's mind-boggling. I mean, it raises so many questions.
mind-boggling.
So,
And
did that fund have such a conflict of interest clause? If it did, then clearly this is in violation. If it did not, in my mind, that raises even bigger questions. Like, what sort of a fund is it that does not have a conflict of interest clause?
unreal. I mean, I can't even imagine, Shub, if one of your siblings is at another fund. So I'm making this up, right? So, but
Yeah.
is at another fund. That sibling leads an angel round
Mhm.
somewhere. That sibling comes to you and says, "Hey, Shub, you should really do the next round at my company." Shub,
Mhm.
I know you enough to say you would recuse yourself. You would
Yeah.
say, "I'm not looking at this company. I need to have Adam or Shub
Yeah.
lead this deal." That's how you should do it. You
Yeah.
shouldn't reject the business because it's our job to actually find great investment. But
Yeah.
sorry, the sibling can't do that. And
Correct.
then you're bending all the rules and finding all the shortcuts to do this deal. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's
Man, it's unreal, man. It's unreal. Wow. I mean, frankly,
and in the end,
I mean, clearly, look, the two the VC brothers, they're clearly at fault. I mean, I have to say, I think there's a case to be made that fingers should also be pointed at the founder. If, and this is an assumption at this point, if the founder is aware that, hey, the two VCs on either side of the table are brothers, doesn't the founder smell something odd about that sort of transaction? Um,
yeah, good question.
yeah.
Good question. I mean, I don't understand how you want to do business with people who are bending rules that much. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not saying don't be pragmatic. Sorry,
Mhm.
I'm all for pragmatism in business,
Yeah.
but there are rules that you can't bend. And
Yeah.
if you get in bed, so to speak, with people who are clearly bending rules, it's the same as getting into a relationship with someone who's cheating,
Yeah.
and that's why they get into a relationship. Like, what are the odds that they will stop cheating on you now?
Absolutely.
Not
Yeah.
very big.
Yeah. Absolutely. Wow, what a colorful story, man, to
But
punctuate this episode.
uh, but we don't want to leave without a positive conclusion.
Yeah.
So, sure, I think all of this shit in Constru-Tech and in general VC, we're seeing a lot of it, right?
Hmm.
But we're also seeing great counter examples
Yeah.
and the conclusion for the founders, what they can do to make sure that this is not happening to them.
Yeah. So this is a company from our portfolio. Maybe I'll just add the disclaimer that it is from our portfolio and maybe not name it specifically. It's in the financial services space for construction, supply chains, and manufactured goods, amongst other things. So, so they basically received an investment offer sometime late last year, um, and the process was moving forward in earnest. Around that time, we had an enormous debacle, like a debacle, not with the company, mind you, but uh, should I name the company, Patrick? What do you think? The other one which went.
Perhaps not, but it's a very public lawsuit now,
Mhm.
and the company had raised billions, billions, billions,
Yes,
billions, and had spent billions, 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 and then
yes,
had commingled funds in the
yes,
billions and billions range. And so now
yes.
everybody who was even in the wider payment space got extra scrutiny.
Yes. And the reason you and I are able to say very confidently that the funds were commingled, customer funds were abused and used for personal reasons and by others, is those cases have actually come to court, and the person involved, the founder there, has been convicted, right? So it's not even an allegation at this point.
Yes.
It's a conviction. So what happened is, so rewinding the clock back to late last year, so this whole story dropped, and the lead investor in our portfolio company, which is one of the world's top VC investors, by the way, they decided, hey, we cannot have anything of this kind ever happening in any deal we lead. And then they went into this insanely long and complex diligence process to ensure. So think of taking a step back. We're talking about a business processing a whole bunch of financial transactions. Imagine uh, if you could imagine a PayPal or a Stripe for construction supply chain, something of that sort. And now you have a problem statement. Hey, we need to ensure any funds made by customers are not commingled with the business's own balance sheet, and you keep them separate. So what that would involve is you're probably pouring through all these transactions, making sure it's reconciled, all the ins and outs, etc. So they had to go through all of that. Uh, and frankly, it was a multi-month process. I can share that as well. So it was definitely not a quick one and done sort of a process. I'm very happy to report they came out clean at the end of it. So that was very reassuring for us, and also very glad that hey, when you subject high quality founders to even the most stringent of tests, they do come through. So it's not something where the bar
Exactly.
was so high. All you had to do was be ethical, operating within the rules of set by contract, set by law, and set by morality and ethics, and you'll come clean. And they did, right? And the round was successful, and the business is doing phenomenally well right now, right? But something to keep in mind.
So
I
that,
mean,
that tier one investor, they invested.
they did invest. That's correct. Yes, they did invest. So something to keep in mind, even when you have incidents of this kind, when there are bad actors who do big mess ups with their businesses, which are either illegal or immoral or contractually breaking contracts, it also unfortunately muddies the waters for good founders. But I mean, apart from dealing with it, it should not create, it should be at most a temporary hurdle for you to walk over if you have everything in order as a founder.
Right. I mean, I think the learning here is that so AAA founders have all numbers in order, have all structures in order, have all documents in order, because they know that these things can happen.
Yeah.
Over a 10-year journey, a lot of things
Yeah.
happen. And so that was the case here, is they just had everything in order, and still the audit took a lot of time
Yeah.
because they literally looked under every rock.
Yeah.
Right? They wanted to be like as certain as a person can be.
Mm-hmm.
But no problem, because they had everything just already prepared
Correct.
and laid out and audited and etc. And so that's the point, is if you think you can take shortcuts because, hey, I'm growing fast, I'm breaking things, you need that little extra luck over your 10-year journey in your company that
Yeah.
something like that will never hit you. You
Yeah.
might be lucky, but if you want to control your destiny, get these things in order day one.
I mean, so you need to be lucky, but you need to be lucky every single day for the next 10 years. You
Yeah.
can't afford one
Yeah.
one day of bad luck.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
that's what you are really
Exactly.
signing up for. If you decide to go the wrong
So,
yeah.
wow. So, Shub, so we're nearing the hour mark here.
Mhm.
Actually, when you and I did our pre-briefing, we're like, okay, we probably have like 30
Yeah,
minutes
exactly.
of material. So great to see that great to see that this was enjoyable for you and me.
Mhm.
And actually a look ahead. So we've already threatened our listeners.
Yes.
Around the Christmas time, we'll do some fun holiday episodes
Yes.
this year
Mhm.
with a little bit more storytelling, where we pick idioms from our home countries, translate them into English, and then with the translated idiom, we're telling stories from the life of Constru-Tech VC and Constru-Tech founding, how they relate to that idiom.
Yes.
So I guess today was a bit of a warm-up.
Yes. And as I've mentioned previously, I think that is one episode for which I will have to come prepared uh, before showing up. Oh man.
Okay. Well, I'll make sure we have a good list of idioms.
I better get to work on that. I haven't started yet.
Cool. I like this, Shub.
Yeah,
I like this.
this was fun.
Good. So I know it's late where you're at because you're right now doing for us the work in Asia again.
That's right. Yeah.
So I hope it's not too late. Yeah.
Oh no,
Have a great night, Shub.
absolutely, it was fun. Hey, we haven't done our ritual of what we are looking forward to in the week to come.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay. Let me go. Just looking at my calendar. Oh, it's an easy answer. I'm looking forward to a week with very few meetings in a long time.
Ah, nice, nice. Actually, for me, the answer is somewhat similar in the sense most of the next week I'm taking some personal time off. Uh, but while I'm here right now in India, so I'm in Bangalore now, by the way. Fun and intense trip so far. Meeting an interesting set of firms. Keen to dig into more around the themes of. One interesting theme is the future, factory of the future, which encompasses different business models, different problem statements. Another is a very specific problem statement that, to be fair, you educated me on, Patrick, on the aspect of file storage, file formats, and how they liaise, how stakeholders liaise with all these files, etc., in a typical AEC file sharing mechanism. Interesting. I'm very keen to learn that problem statement more and dig into new age solutions to address it.
So I'll give credit where credit is due.
Mhm.
I was in turn made aware of this first by Greg Schlusner. Hey, Greg, shout out to you.
Hi, Greg.
At HOK,
Mhm.
large New York or East Coast based AE firm. And then since I've had more and more conversations about that with stakeholders in the industry. So
Nice. Nice.
good. Will be good to hear about that firm more
Yeah,
that you're looking at.
absolutely.
Awesome. Well, now I wish you a great night.
Thank you, sir. I wish you a lovely evening as well.
All right. See you soon, sir.
See ya.